I don't know about you guys, but oftentimes I find myself reminiscing about the Overwatch League. I mean, it was supposed to be the future of esports. Teams paid $20 to $60 million for franchise slots, Twitch paid $90 million for streaming rights, and Disney even signed a broadcasting deal. I mean, everybody was told this was going to be the NFL of gaming. We had city-based franchises, home and away games, stadiums full of fans. I mean, if you told any esports fan what their dream esports league would look like, I mean, it wouldn't stray too far from what we were promised with the Overwatch League. But then in 2023, 2/3 of those teams voted to leave. They accepted $6 million buyouts. Teams that paid $20 million took just $6 million to get out. So what exactly happened? How did the most ambitious esports league in history become one of the most expensive failures? Well, let's go through how comedically wrong this all went. So Blizzard's pitch was legitimacy. I mean, they looked at traditional sports and said, okay, that's what we need to do. So they get the billionaire owners, city franchises, mainstream broadcast deals. I mean, they convinced the Miami Heat and New England Patriots to buy in. These weren't esports investors, these were actual sports money people betting that competitive Overwatch was the next big thing. And for a minute, it looked like it might actually work. I mean, Season 1 averaged over 100,000 viewers, and Season 2 grew. It was a pretty crazy production quality compared to anything else you had seen in the esports scene. I mean, the 2018 Grand Finals at Barclays Center, it was insane. It was a sold-out arena, championship match, and Blizzard, in an attempt to have this mainstream credibility, makes a decision that is kind of questioning, but foreshadowing of the future, in that they don't really know what their audience wants. Blizzard decides to open the show with DJ Khaled. Now, if you haven't seen this, I need you to understand what happened. I mean, DJ Khaled comes out, he's performing, the music cuts, and he expects the crowd to sing along. And it's just silence. I mean, this is cinema.
Let's go! New York! Sing it!
Monte Cristo, one of the least casters, he's like, okay, after DJ Khaled's performance, anybody could have looked good. I mean, it was like so cringe. And it was a preview of everything that would go wrong. I mean, Blizzard was building a league for mainstream audiences that weren't watching while ignoring the community that actually was. Case in point, look at some of these teams. I mean, look at the Florida Mayhem. Their original colors were yellow, red, and black with a M inside a bomb. So naturally, Twitch chat immediately starts calling them McDonald's every single match, which was hilarious. But it shows the clashing vision between the professional look that Blizzard had taken and the community that they were actually serving to. Eventually, they end up switching to the Miami Vice, and the fan base had literally memed them into changing their entire identity. Between DJ Khaled and the teams and even the players, which we'll shortly get into, it was just a circus. Okay, so you've got this league trying to look professional. Mainstream sports money, broadcast deals, codes of conduct, and then you have the players. So let's talk about XQC. So XQC was a tank player for the Dallas Fuel, but at the same time, he was actually an incredibly popular streamer and a content farm for disciplinary action, unfortunately. So he got multiple suspensions while on the Fuel. So his first suspension, he made a homophobic comment about Houston Outlaws player Muma on stream. And so that ends up resulting in 4 matches and a $2,000 fine. And then his second suspension, he spammed a Twitch emote called Tryhard, which was the face of a black streamer named Tryhead, while the league's black host, Malik, was on camera. And the league called it racially disparaging. And so that was 4 more matches and another $4,000 fine. His defense was also a little bit, I mean, he said that he had posted the tryhard emote a lot of times, and it was just a coincidence that it had lined up at the same time. But regardless, it ended up in a suspension. He also got a 7-day ban from Overwatch for throwing competitive games, which kind of reminds me of a Tyler 1 situation where honestly Blizzard was kind of stuck in a rock and a hard place where they wanted to discipline this player, but also he's giving them a lot of traction being probably the biggest Overwatch streamer at the time.
If you never went to the Blizzard Arena, sorry, you might be new to Overwatch. If you're an Overwatch 2 person, I'll give you the history lesson. There was this arena in LA that existed. No XQC clips, Pepe hands. Well, they hated XQC. Overwatch League hated them. I remember one of my first meetings when I worked in Overwatch League. I hadn't been in Overwatch League more than a week, and the first meeting there was some executives. I got to sit in on them, and they were talking about how much they hated him, and then thank God he was out of the league. But that was back in season 1. It was a very different time. So, or technically it was the start of season 2, but anyways.
So Dallas Fuel releases him eventually, and the punchline is that he's freed from the league, actually. So XQC becomes infinitely more popular as a streamer, and by 2021, he was averaging 110,000 concurrent viewers, more than Overwatch League was pulling in and of itself. But XQC wasn't alone. I mean, suspensions were everywhere. Tiamu, also on the Dallas Fuel, gets suspended. Tyrone gets suspended for tweeting stuff about atomic bombs, and then Dallas Fuel signed a new tank named OGE to replace XQC, and then he gets immediately suspended for boosting. And then there is the insane case of Dreamcasper on the Boston Uprising, who was leading the team to a pretty dominant situation before he was caught for how do I put this? Well, let's just say he would have been on the island. It is pretty dark stuff, right? And within 24 hours, he was terminated for, well, messaging, to be fair, but still incredibly inappropriate and horrible stuff, right? And so the league kept issuing statements about being committed to building a welcoming and inclusive community while basically dealing with its players' nonsense on a weekly basis. I mean, besides the players themselves, the teams were kind of a coin flip, right? I mean, you had teams like the Shanghai Dragons, which finished their first season with an 0-40 record. That's 0 wins and 40 losses, the worst single season record in professional sports history. I mean, they tried everything. They brought in new players mid-season, including Ganguri, the league's first female player. They changed coaches. Nothing worked, right? But in a weird way, they sort of became beloved for it. I mean, fans developed drinking games triggered by deaths on the team, and the losses were sort of a community event. I mean, people were rooting for them to win a single map. And in a redemption arc, was that they actually managed to win a game, and it was like this huge celebratory event, and in a cool and unique way. I think it sort of created an identity for some of the teams and the players themselves. You know, while controversial, I mean, XQC, one of the most, definitely a controversial player, right? Was so drawing to viewers that people were captivated. People were enticed to log in and watch. And in a way, the suspensions specifically for XQC, hurt the league in a way, and albeit maybe deserved to a degree, ended up in a weird situation, but it was just a clown show. It was a clown show. And so, speaking of the players, I think a big hit for the Overwatch League was when the 2019 MVP, Sinatra, decided to retire from Overwatch to move to Valorant. I mean, Valorant was still in closed beta. The game wasn't even fully released. There was no competitive scene. Ryan hadn't even announced anything official, and Sinatra had left before his commemorative MVP skin was even added to the game, and his explanation was that he had just lost passion for the game. He walked away from a $150,000 per year contract to play a game that didn't technically have a competitive scene yet, and when your reigning MVP is confident enough to jump ship to a beta, that tells you everything about where the player's thoughts were. Multiple other pros followed him to Valorant, and the talent pipeline slowly started to break. I mean, why would anyone grind Overwatch when they could be early to Valorant, and they were seeing all these MVPs and high-level players already leaving the scene? It was just not promising to anyone who was looking to just get started on their pro career. Now, this is where what I feel was the nail in the coffin had been put in, and it was moving over to YouTube. I mean, for 2 seasons, the Overwatch League had built its entire viewership on Twitch. I mean, you could link your Blizzard and Twitch accounts and earn league tokens just by watching matches, which let you buy skins in the game. I remember I'd collected a bunch of skins. My favorite team was the Mayhem, ironically enough. I had all their skins and everything. And this was a pretty clever system, to be honest. I mean, it really incentivized people to tune in. And it also created a little weird culture of token farming. I mean, people would leave their stream open in the background and mute the browser just to get tokens. And a meaningful percentage of the viewers were just muted tabs farming skins. Now, I don't know if this is actually good, but what it does do is it pushes your game higher up on Twitch, which promotes more people to click on it, as you can see here in this clip.
So sitting anywhere between kind of 15 to 20k, it seems like is reasonable. I think it's probably going to stay at about 15 to 20k. I don't think the lack of Overwatch League is going to tank the game on Twitch, but what you won't get is the spikes when Overwatch League is active to knock it up into the top 5 categories on Twitch. And what that might end up doing in the long run is that more people don't click on the category because it isn't at the top a lot.
So right before the 2020 season, Blizzard announces they were moving exclusively to YouTube. A $160 million deal with Google. I mean, the announcement came weeks before the season started, and there was not really much time to rebuild anything on there. I mean, even the token farmers, who were a real chunk of the viewership, had disappeared, and honestly, the extra inconvenience of people who are already on Twitch having to move to a whole new platform. I mean, at the time, YouTube gaming was relatively unused. It was a bit too much for audiences, and viewer numbers drastically declined. So I think one of the coolest things about the Overwatch League was the whole city-based franchise model. I mean, teams in specific cities, home and away games, local fan bases and stadiums. I mean, it was one of the coolest things that we had never really seen before in esports. Well, the epidemic basically killed that instantly. I mean, the 2020 season was supposed to be the first real implementation of a homestand format. I mean, teams were going to play in their home cities. The Philadelphia Fusion's owner was building a $50 million esports arena, and 1 month into the season, everything shut down. The league shifted to online play, with teams competing remotely from their respective regions. The casters and analysts started working from home, and the only thing that really made Overwatch League different from every other esports league was gone. And here's the thing, some team owners admitted that not having live events actually helped them lose less money. The economics were already that bad. Then Overwatch 2 happened shortly after. I mean, Blizzard announces a sequel that fans genuinely could not tell apart from the original game. The content drought while waiting for Overwatch 2 killed any sort of momentum the Overwatch League had. Players didn't know whether to invest in a game that was supposedly being replaced, and by the 2022 summer shutdown, the league peaked at 51,000 viewers. For context, that's about half of what XQC was averaging alone on his personal stream. Then the Activision Blizzard harassment lawsuit hit. The state of California filed a suit alleging years of workplace harassment and discrimination, and nearly all of the league sponsors withdrew. State Farm, Coca-Cola, T-Mobile, all of them gone. The viewership numbers tell the whole story. I mean, peak viewership dropped from 437,000 to 118,000, and then average viewership dropped from 140,000 to 50,000. Activision eventually admitted that Overwatch League's revenue represented less than 1% of the company's net revenue. Less than 1% after all the investment that they had put in. So when all was said and done, teams paid between $20 to $60 million for franchise slots. Blizzard collected somewhere around $400 million in franchise fees, with more payments still owed over time. But in 2023, 2/3 of the teams voted to leave. They accepted $6 million buyouts. Teams that paid $35 million or $60 million, they took $6 million to get out. Activision paid around $120 million in total termination fees just to let everyone walk away. And that $400 million in remaining franchise fees that teams still owed, well, Blizzard waived all of it just to make it stop. On January 23rd, 2024, Blizzard announced that the Overwatch League was officially folded. The same day, they announced a deal with ESL Faceit Group to create the Overwatch Champions Series as a replacement. basically admitting that the entire franchise model had failed. So what went wrong? To me, I think it's a kind of a mixture of things. I mean, the Overwatch League chased mainstream legitimacy over connecting with their audience and having a grassroots connection. They booked DJ Khaled for an audience that wanted to watch Overwatch. They signed platform deals that nuked their viewership and built an entire business model around live events and homestands, then couldn't adapt when the world shut down. They killed community tournaments to control everything, and they created a closed ecosystem where the only path to pro play went through their system, and when Valorant showed up offering a fresh start, the talent left. The Overwatch League was supposed to prove that esports could work like traditional sports, city franchises, mainstream money, and long-term stability, but it proved the opposite. You can't buy legitimacy, you can't force a grassroots community into a top-down structure, and you definitely can't ignore your actual audience while chasing one that doesn't exist. So 8 years and hundreds of millions of dollars later, the esports industry hasn't evolved far beyond where it was in those early days. The Overwatch League's biggest legacy might be proving what doesn't work, but hey, at least we got DJ Khaled to yell in that silent arena. I mean, that clip is gonna last forever. Thanks for watching.